Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to do something a little bit different this time, and honestly, it's pretty special. We've uncovered this incredible story, and we're going to look at it from a super intimate, deeply personal perspective. We're actually going to read through the reflective diary entries of a small sparrow. Yeah, a sparrow. It's this profound journey of sudden loss, resilience, and figuring out what exactly happens when the very foundation of the world you built just shakes beneath you. Okay, so let's dive right into this. Imagine you're opening up this tiny, weathered little journal, right? And the very first entry we read together says, "Dear Diary, today I realized that the worst day of my life was actually the beginning of it." Wow. I mean, that instantly hooks you, doesn't it? We are looking directly through the eyes of this little sparrow as she reflects on a massive, totally life-altering transformation. But, to understand how she actually reached this profound realization, we really have to flip back to the very first pages, way back before all the chaos. Chapter 1, My Safe, Silent Bell. Her early entries paint this picture of just absolute tranquility high up in the mountains. She notes how she made her home in this old temple with mossy marble walls and a completely silent courtyard. And right at the center of the whole shebang was this massive, great bronze bell. It literally had dust resting on its surface because, well, it hadn't been struck for years and years. Other birds would just fly by without a care in the world, but to our small sparrow, carefully writing in her journal, this setup looked like permanent, unbreakable peace. And right inside the hollow of that giant, dusty bell is exactly where she built her home. You can almost hear the pride in her voice as she writes about how it was nice and cool in the summer and perfectly sheltered from the heavy mountain rain. She describes bringing in twigs in her beak, just one by one, and carefully lining her nest with soft feathers to make it absolutely perfect. She felt so comfortable and just completely secure inside this little hollow. Now, reading this next line, it kind of gives you that sinking feeling in your stomach, doesn't it? She writes, "This is my safe place. Nothing can hurt me here." Man, it just completely captures that illusion of absolute permanence we all get when life is smooth sailing. She was going about her days so peacefully, singing in the mornings, resting in the afternoons, absolutely convinced that this bell would never sound again and her world would never change. She was so deeply, deeply settled into her comfort zone. Which brings us to Chapter 2, The Day Everything Shook. Her diary notes how incredibly fast that peaceful morning shifted. It started off totally normal, but then footsteps unexpectedly echoed in the once silent courtyard. The monks of the temple were gathering. After years of silence, they had decided it was time to invite the villagers to pray. She writes that she had absolutely no idea what was coming, just sitting there happily in her nest, and then, boom, the monk struck the bell. She describes this heavy, thunderous noise just ripping through the air. The giant bronze bell shook with terrifying force. Her little nest trembled violently. Twigs snapped and fell apart, and all those carefully placed feathers, they just scattered everywhere into the wind. In one single, terrifying blow, her entire little world, her perfect safe home, was completely ruined. She writes about flying out into the courtyard in absolute terror, just barely escaping. Chapter 3, Flying Through the Unknown. These next few entries are just filled with this raw, heartbreaking despair. She writes, "Why did this happen to me? What wrong did I do? Why did life take away my home?" Have you ever felt that? That raw confusion that hits you like a ton of bricks right after a sudden loss. She describes flying away from the temple, her wings feeling incredibly heavy, feeling completely lost. She's just wondering why on earth she was being punished and why her safety was ripped away so violently. She notes that day after day, she just wandered. She literally had nowhere to go. She searched through endless valleys, resting on random, unfamiliar branches, but absolutely nothing felt right. She writes about growing so tired and painfully hungry. When you are thrust out of your comfort zone, the sheer, directionless nature of it all is just exhausting. Flipping through these pages, you can see she truly, genuinely thought about just giving up. But then there's this shift in her journal. Deep down, something inside her whispered, "Keep flying, keep searching, don't stop now." It's that quiet, firm inner voice of resilience. She had no clue where she was going, but she chose to believe that somewhere, somehow, she would find a new place. So she listened to that little voice, and she kept moving. Chapter 4, A Better, Brighter Nest. She describes stumbling into this secret glade in the forest, and you can literally hear the awe coming back into her voice. The air was fresh and sweet, and the light fell beautifully through the trees. There were these berry trees, absolutely loaded with fruit, a sparkling stream right nearby, and thick, spongy branches that were just perfect for building a house. She writes that she could scarcely believe her eyes. It was a paradise. This wasn't just a random place to land. It was a place of vibrant, undeniable new hope. And she outlines her rebuilding process in the diary, but with incredible intentionality this time around. Step 1, she was far more careful, purposefully choosing much stronger sticks. Step 2, she laid them down so patiently, twig by twig. And step 3, when it was finally complete, she got to sit back and enjoy the gentle wind in a nest that was larger and significantly stronger than her very first one. Reading her reflect on 2 homes, you start to realize the massive upgrade she actually experienced. She compares her old home, a hollow, dusty bronze bell built with fragile little twigs. I mean, sure, it was sheltered, but it was stagnant. Then she looks at her new home, a fresh forest glade, stronger sticks, and abundant fruit right at her beak. As she sat there, she writes that she smiled, thinking, wow, this is way better than the old bell. And that is exactly when she wrote the realization we read at the very beginning of this explainer. If the bell had never rung, I would have remained stuck in that hollow place. It wasn't the end, it commenced something more. The failure, the terrifying destruction of her comfort zone, it wasn't the end at all. Losing our first home actually commenced something so much more beautiful.
Chapter 5, When Your World Shakes.
Let's close her diary for just a second and turn this around to face you. Because, this source material isn't just some cute fable about a bird and a bell. We all build our own nests, don't we? Our human nests are our homes, our jobs, our relationships, our daily routines. They're our comfort zones. We settle into them, we feel super safe, and we naturally trick ourselves into believing that absolutely nothing will ever change. But one day, the bell is shaken by life. Suddenly, all we know breaks. And let's be entirely honest here. In those moments, the pain feels incredibly heavy. You ask, why me? Why did I lose what I loved? The future looks completely uncertain and frankly terrifying. Losing your comfort zone is deeply painful, and it's so validating to acknowledge that exhaustion and that heavy weight, just like our sparrow did in her journal. So remember the absolutely crucial point she learned. The end of one chapter is not the end of the story. What we so often perceive as a catastrophic loss is actually just a disguised start. It's crazy, but the things that fail, the comfort zones that are completely blown away, are so often the exact vehicles that drive us to greater things and to places we never even imagined. If you happen to find yourself in the wilderness right now with heavy wings, here is your actionable guide drawn directly from the sparrow's journey. Step 1, do not be scared. Step 2, keep your spirit strong and listen to that inner voice that tells you to keep searching. And step 3, keep moving and keep building. You have to keep flying if you want to find your secret glade. Remember the profound irony of her diary. The bell that blew away her nest was the exact same bell that set her free. It drove her right out of her comfort zone and brought her to a heaven she had never seen. Your next nest, your next home, your next chapter, it is possibly the prettiest one of your life. The best is truly yet to come, for sure, as long as you're willing to build again with stronger sticks. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to take away today. When your world shakes, will you think it is the end, or will you keep flying to find your paradise? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your spirit strong, keep building, and I will catch you next time.